Hey everyone, Harry here to talk about a bone-chilling series of deceptive ads that we have now learned were targeted to potential Kamala Harris voters to try to move her numbers down. We have all the kind of components of the nasty conservative driven modern day effort, use of all kinds of different social media, anonymous donations to a nice anodyne sounding foundation, and most importantly, poll tested and focus group tested lies about Kamala Harris, and including in some of these things the statement, "This is a real Kamala Harris ad." So really an effort that, if you look at the numbers, is part of the bottom line of what happened at the election, which is that her numbers were down from Biden's in 2020 more than Trump's were up. Okay, so this story is set out in a Washington Post story that's worth reading for the more detail, but I wanted to sketch it out inside the Republican false flag effort to turn off Kamala Harris voters. Okay, so it starts with alums from the Ron DeSantis campaign and the establishment of one of these nasty America apple pie sounding PACs. This was called Building America's Future, and it's just sinister. So here are the kinds of ads. They targeted Muslims in Michigan with pro-Israel ads praising Vice President Harris for marrying a Jewish man and backing the Jewish state. Okay? So that purports to be a pro-Harris ad, but it's, of course, designed to actually drive Muslim American voters away from her. There's an ad entitled Harris's Bold Progressive Agenda, but that was targeted to conservative-leaning Donald Trump voters who might be peeled off by worries about his democracy. There's an ad targeted to progressive voters about Harris's abandonment of the progressive dream. Now, these three are sort of sinister, but you could call them hardball. Well, you can't call them hardball politics, but just note this is a whole kind of part of the toolkit, which is to say what seems like true things, but if it's actually, there's a lot of social science that says we really focus on sponsorship theory. It's called who says these things. And so when you have what really seems like Kamala Harris saying in a pro-Israel ad directed to Muslim Americans, that is likely to turn off voters much more than a Donald Trump ad. Hey, look up, you Muslim Americans. This administration would be pro-Israel. That would be something that would seem sort of dirty pool and would be much less effective. It gets worse, though. So in the final weeks of the campaign, all these ads started appearing on Facebook and Google. And as I said, one of the ones targeting Muslims actually say this is a real Kamala Harris ad. And Democrats now go to Facebook and others in the last weeks of the campaign. They could see this and were outraged. But now this goes into the whole pushback on ostensible First Amendment grounds by Republicans. So, for example, in the whole, and we're going to see this now, God knows, with RFK Jr. Taking the reins, if he does, at Health and Human Services, any efforts by the government to parry anti-vaccine efforts online. You heard from people, oh, that violates the First Amendment and you can't do that. So it's the basic notion here is to try to distort or even present information about the campaign specifically to people who would be repelled by it. Another big effort touting the Biden administration's support for potentially banning menthol cigarettes, targeting that specifically to African Americans who are a strong part of the market for menthol cigarettes. That looks like it might have mattered specifically in Ohio, where Sherrod Brown, Democratic senator, was defeated. But here is the kicker. All of this was a $45 million effort created by political advisors to 3, 2, 1, Elon Musk, who had previously worked, these advisors, on the presidential campaign of DeSantis, doing the same kind of thing. So this part and parcel of the problem of the incredibly, ridiculously cozy relationship between Musk and Trump, and his being a kind of private, not covered by many restrictions, sort of bank for Trump to go at. You've seen this most recently now with Musk suggesting that any senator or member of Congress who tries to cross Trump will find themselves the target of a Musk-sponsored primary challenge by a true blue, true red, I should say, MAGA faithful in their home state. So this is really nasty totalitarian stuff backed by, the hammer of money and private money. It's really brings home the unholy alliance of Trump and Musk. So you have ads that are at best deceptive because they suggest that they are for Harris, and when they're really specifically micro-targeted. And that's another aspect of this. Facebook is part of it, but all the sort of sophisticated tools of this or that, chat group or smaller kinds of groups who would be specifically open to the message of, oh, she's got a progressive agenda. Conservatives will be worried about, oh, she's abandoned the progressive agenda. So talking out of both sides of their mouths, will send that to the progressive voters to drive her numbers down. Oh, she loves Israel. We'll send that to Muslim Americans. So you see the basic notion and the sort of built-in deniability of, we're just putting out facts, but you're not when it's clear, both in law, but also just in psychology and marketing. When you say, this is me, Kamala Harris, saying it, the impact is very different. And particularly putting at the bottom, this is a real Kamala Harris ad, that really captures to the T what they did here. And it might have been quite effective, especially in Ohio, Michigan, etc., where all the difference mattered. It's a specific, and I would say especially pernicious, part of the whole media ecosystem problem of the Trump voters getting outright false or really distorted information, and within the big right-wing media ecosystem, and staying within there. And Democrats, essentially, this is part of my conversation with Rick Wilson that's now up, and you can look at YouTube, just not being able to have, enough money, resources, ingenuity, or whatever it might have taken to permeate, as Wilson says, that hermetically sealed right-wing ecosystem. But this was a part of it that could well have driven down Harris's votes. It's something that is anti-democratic, even if it could pass muster as against a defamation campaign. And of course, you never bring those. Once the election is over, it's over, and the damage done is just considered part of the rubble of politics and left behind. But it's an ugly campaign with no equivalent on the left to try to somehow deceive potential Trump voters. It's one of the 500 things now that we'll be unpacking over the next few years to, figure out what happened and how to try to avoid it going forward. Talk to you later. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video and other Talking Feds content, please take a second to like and subscribe. Talk to you later.